There comes a moment, maybe it's in the middle of the night when the world is silent, and all you can hear is your own heartbeat, that you realize you're holding on to someone who already let go of you. And it aches. Not just in your chest, but deep in your soul, where your laughter used to live. That kind of pain. The kind that quietly eats away at your light, the kind that makes you question your worth, isn't just heartbreaking. It's soul-breaking. You gave them everything. Your love, your energy, your best intentions. You showed up when it wasn't convenient. You forgave when it hurt. You stayed longer than you should have because you believed in the version of them they never became. And now you're here, empty, wondering how someone could take so much of you and still walk away like it meant nothing. And here's the hard truth most people don't want to say out loud. Loving someone who doesn't love you back the way you deserve is not noble. It's self-abandonment. You are not weak because you care. You are not broken because you feel. But you do have a choice now. A choice to stop bleeding for someone who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. You've cried enough. You've begged for clarity, for closure, for decency. But none of that is coming. What is coming is your power, if you're willing to reach for it. This isn't about hate. This isn't about revenge. This is about reclaiming your soul. This is about detaching from someone emotionally, not because you never loved them, but because you love yourself enough to walk away. That kind of strength, it doesn't come from the head. It comes from the heart breaking open and still choosing to beat again. So if you're done waiting for an apology you'll never get, if you're done shrinking just to make someone else feel big, if you're done confusing crumbs for a meal, then this, right here, right now is your moment. Not to forget the love you gave, but to remember the love you deserve. You are not here to chase people who can't see your value. You are here to rise, even if it means rising alone for a while. 1. Stop romanticizing what was never real. You keep replaying the highlight reel in your head. Every smile, every sweet word, every stolen glance that made your heart flutter. You cling to those moments like they were everything because, for you, they were. You hold on to the first kiss, the way they said your name when they were happy, how their arms felt like home, and how they once made you feel seen, chosen, wanted. And that's where the trap is. You're not holding on to the person. You're holding on to the potential, to what could have been, to what you hoped would grow. You're holding on to the dream, not the reality. This is what we do when we're in love with someone who couldn't love us back the same way. We build a fantasy on top of broken facts. We edit the bad parts out, soften the edges of the pain, and blow up the rare good moments into a masterpiece. You don't remember the cold silences or the moments when you felt like a burden. You don't remember how often you questioned your worth, how many nights you cried yourself to sleep, how they didn't show up when you needed them most. You remember the one time they held your hand, not the 1,000 times they let it go. You remember the spark, not the fire that burned you to ashes. But here's what you have to understand. Emotional detachment begins when you stop lying to yourself, when you stop turning pain into poetry, when you look at the full story, not just the pages you liked. That love you're holding on to, it wasn't all real. It was partly imagination, partly hope, and mostly your heart doing everything it could to make sense of crumbs. You fell for the idea of who they could be, not who they consistently were. And that's not your fault. That's your heart trying to survive in a place it never felt safe. But now it's time to stop confusing effort with outcome. You may have tried with every fiber of your being, but their love didn't grow. And that's not a reflection of your value. That's a reflection of their inability. When you romanticize someone who mistreated you, ignored you, manipulated you, or gave you half love, you chain yourself to the very pain you're trying to escape. You start blaming yourself. You think, maybe if I was prettier, funnier, more successful, more patient. No, don't you dare do that to yourself. You were enough. You are enough. You just gave your heart to someone who didn't know how to hold it. That's not your shame to carry. Stop telling yourself it was perfect. Stop saying, but we had something real. Real love doesn't leave you confused. Real love doesn't make you anxious. Real love doesn't gaslight you or leave you guessing. Real love shows up. Real love communicates. Real love nurtures, protects, respects. And if that's not what you got, then stop calling it love. Stop dressing up dysfunction with pretty language. You want to detach. Then start by telling the truth. Not the sugar-coated version. Not the fantasy you wrote to survive the nights you felt empty. But the real, raw truth. Say it out loud. They hurt me. They didn't choose me. They left me hanging. I felt alone in that relationship. These aren't admissions of weakness. These are declarations of power, because the moment you say the truth is the moment you start freeing yourself from the prison of illusion. It's okay to mourn what you thought you had. It's okay to grieve the future you built in your head. You're not crazy for loving them. You're not stupid for hoping. But you have to stop going back and rewatching the movie of your love story and skipping past the scenes that broke you. You have to stop calling it almost when it was never even close. You have to stop saying they loved you when their actions screamed otherwise. You deserve more than a connection based on chaos. You deserve more than late night texts and early morning silence. You deserve more than confusion. Love is not meant to hurt this much. Love is not meant to make you feel small. You deserve a love that pours into you the way you pour into others. You deserve someone who sees you, really sees you, and says, I choose you every day, not just when it's easy. And I know it's terrifying to let go of the story you've been telling yourself. I know it feels like letting go means it all meant nothing. But that's not true. It meant something to you. It meant that you are capable of loving deeply, of showing up fully, of caring intensely. And that's a beautiful thing. But now, the bravest thing you can do is redirect that love back to yourself. The strongest thing you can do is stop watering a dead flower and start planting seeds somewhere new, inside your own soul. Because you are not meant to be an option. You are not meant to wait for someone to grow up, to heal, to choose you. You are not meant to live in a loop of almosts and maybes. You are meant to be free, to feel peace, to wake up and not feel like you're fighting invisible battles in your heart every day. And that peace begins when you stop romanticizing a person who couldn't love you the way you needed. That's the first step. That's the line in the sand. They don't get to take up space in your mind rent-free anymore. They don't get to own your joy. They don't get to be the reason you doubt yourself. They were a chapter. They are not the whole book. Close it. You can cry. You can scream. But you can't keep rereading it. Not if you want to heal. Not if you want your life back. So today, choose truth. Choose clarity. Choose freedom. Stop calling heartbreak love. Stop calling pain romance. See it for what it was, not what you wanted it to be. And let that be the beginning of your healing. Not because they deserve to be forgotten, but because you deserve to be remembered by you too. Remove all access if you're truly serious about detaching from someone emotionally. The most powerful and courageous step you can take is this: remove their access to you. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and digitally. Cut the cord. Close the door. Walk away, not with bitterness, but with finality. Because every time you leave a door cracked open, every time you allow even a small thread of connection, you give them permission to pull you back into a space you've outgrown. And yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to feel unnatural. You've conditioned yourself to answer when they text, to pick up when they call, to check their profile just to see if maybe, just maybe, they're thinking about you too. That kind of attachment doesn't dissolve overnight. It's a chemical bond, forged through time, emotion, repetition, and hope. But you cannot heal in the same environment that broke you. You cannot detach while still entertaining their presence. Removing access doesn't mean you hate them. It means you love yourself enough to stop bleeding for someone who couldn't even hand you a bandage. It means you understand that healing is not passive. It's active. It's a choice you make every single day. And one of the most critical choices. Limiting exposure. Because what you allow is what will continue. And if you continue to allow their voice, their opinions, their presence, their mixed signals into your life, you're choosing to stay in the cycle. You're choosing pain disguised as hope. You have to unfollow them.
Yes.
Even if it makes your hands shake. You have to block them, silence them, delete the photos, erase the messages. Because every memory your phone throws at you, every last scene you notice on an app, every profile picture that changes becomes a new way to reopen wounds that are desperately trying to heal. And don't say, it's just social media. No. That's your mind making excuses for your heart. Every ping, every glance, every scroll is another hit of the drug you're trying to quit. You cannot move on while still holding the door open to what broke you. If they keep texting you, stop replying. If they keep calling, stop answering. If they say they miss you, don't let nostalgia cloud your memory. Remember why you left. Remember the nights you cried. Remember the confusion, the silence, the way they made you feel unseen, unimportant, unloved. Missing someone isn't a reason to go back. It's a reason to go deeper into your healing. Don't confuse access with love. Just because they reach out doesn't mean they care in the way you need. Sometimes people reach for you not because they love you, but because they love the control they had over you. And every time you respond, every time you let them back in, you give them power they no longer deserve. Removing access isn't cruel. What's cruel is letting someone stay in your life who only knows how to hurt you. What's cruel is abandoning your peace for someone who wouldn't lift a finger to protect it. You're not a backup plan. You're not a placeholder. You're not someone's convenience. You are worthy of being someone's priority, but that can only happen when you remove yourself from the cycle of being someone's occasional thought. And yes, your mind will resist. It will scream at you. It will say things like, what if I'm overreacting? What if they change? What if I regret it? That's fear talking. That's trauma talking. That's your brain wired to cling to familiarity, even if that familiarity is toxic. But ask yourself, what has staying connected cost you? How many tears? How much sleep? How much self-worth have you sacrificed on the altar of maybe? And how many times have you been disappointed, left empty, reduced to waiting, guessing, doubting? You deserve peace. You deserve a clean slate, and you can't have either while still checking for their shadow in your life. Removing access means creating a sacred space where your healing is not interrupted by their inconsistency. It means building a boundary so firm that even you don't cross it, because this isn't just about them. It's about you. It's about learning how to choose yourself in a world that taught you to choose others first. There's something terrifyingly beautiful about deciding that your energy is no longer up for grabs, that your heart is no longer a playground, that your time is no longer available for people who don't honor it. That's not cold. That's not heartless. That's self-respect. And the day you stop giving people access to your emotions who only drain them is the day you start to heal. So let them wonder why you disappeared. Let them question why you stopped responding. Let them feel the weight of your silence. You don't owe an explanation for choosing peace. You don't owe closure to people who shattered you. Sometimes your silence is your power. Sometimes not explaining is your healing. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is distance from the chaos, the confusion, the manipulation, and the noise. You are not the same person who tolerated breadcrumbs. You are not the same person who waited for text messages at 2 a.m. You are not the same person who cried over someone who treated you like an option. You're growing. You're evolving, and growth requires space. You can't rise while still being anchored. And that anchor, it's access, it's permission. It's the subtle way you say, I'm still here if you want me, even when they never truly wanted all of you. So this is your moment, the quiet, defiant, powerful moment where you say, enough. You walk away, even if your legs shake. You block the number. You delete the thread. You unfollow the account. You stop checking their stories. You stop asking mutual friends. You stop giving them any more real estate in your mind. Because the truth is, the longer you allow them access, the longer they get to live in your heart rent-free. And sweetheart, that space. It's sacred. It's meant for you. For your peace, for your healing, for the future you are creating. So take it back. One click, one decision, one boundary at a time. It starts now. 3. Sit with the pain. Don't run from it. There's a moment, maybe late at night when the noise quiets down and there's no one left to distract you, when it all catches up to you. The silence, the ache, the emptiness, that hollow feeling in your chest when you realize they're really gone, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, soul deep gone. And that's when it hits you. The grief, the hurt, the unbearable sadness of loving someone who couldn't or wouldn't love you the way you needed. It feels like a wave crashing over your heart, and the instinct, the strongest impulse, is to run, to distract yourself, to numb it, to scroll endlessly, binge shows, text people you don't care about, or go back to the person who broke you just to feel something again. But healing doesn't happen in avoidance. Healing begins the moment you choose to sit still in that discomfort, to face the ache, to look your pain in the eye and say, I see you. It's not weakness to feel this deeply. It's strength. It's what makes you human. And that pain, that unbearable, gut-wrenching ache in your chest, that's proof that you loved with everything you had. That's your heart reacting to a wound it didn't deserve. But you can't bandage a wound you won't look at. You can't fix what you refuse to feel. We live in a world that teaches us to move on quickly, to smile through the pain, to pretend we're okay when we're breaking inside. But rushing through grief is like skipping the foundation of a house. You'll collapse the moment life tests you. You have to go through it, not over it, not around it, through it. And going through it means sitting in that space of discomfort and letting the sadness rise like a tide. Letting the tears fall unapologetically. Letting yourself scream, cry, shake, write, break, and feel the full weight of what was lost. Because something was lost. Not just the person. Not just the relationship. But the future you imagined. The version of yourself you were in that space. The dreams you tied to them. The memories you can't relive. That's real grief. And it deserves to be honored, not rushed. When you suppress it, when you distract from it, all you're doing is postponing your healing. You can't outrun your emotions. They live in your body. They'll find you in the quiet moments, in the middle of conversations, in your sleep. They'll show up as anxiety, as fatigue, as anger, as apathy. Pain ignored is pain recycled. It will leak into your future if you don't address it in your present. So feel it. All of it. The heartbreak, the disappointment, the betrayal, the confusion. Sit in the stillness and listen to what it's trying to tell you. Let it teach you. Pain is a profound teacher. It strips away the illusion. It exposes the truth. It forces you to confront your needs, your wounds, your patterns, your worth. And yes, it's brutal, but it's also sacred, because the version of you that walks through this fire won't be the same as the one who entered it. You're being refined. You're being rebuilt. Don't apologize for grieving. Don't shame yourself for missing someone who hurt you. Don't pretend you're healed just to make others comfortable. This is your journey, and it doesn't have a timeline. You don't need to bounce back. You don't need to date someone new. You don't need to fake happiness. You just need to be real with yourself, because authenticity is the root of true healing. When you're honest about your pain, you give it space to move, and when it moves, it transforms. Let yourself cry until you can't cry anymore. Let the anger rise. Let the confusion breathe. Journal every ugly, beautiful, raw thought. Speak it out loud. Scream if you have to. Release what's inside. You've been carrying it too long, and you deserve to set it down. You deserve to exhale. You deserve to finally say, "This hurt me," without softening the blow or minimizing your own experience. And when you sit in the pain long enough, something miraculous happens. You start to realize that it doesn't define you. You're not the heartbreak. You're not the rejection. You're not the wound. You're the one who survives it. You're the one who grows from it. You're the one who rebuilds in spite of it. And there is so much power in that. Pain breaks you open, yes, but it also lets the light in. It reveals the parts of you that still need love, attention, care. It shows you your strength. It shows you your resilience. You will not always feel this way, I promise you. The ache won't always be this loud. The memories won't always sting. The silence won't always feel like punishment. It will get softer. You'll wake up one day and realize you didn't think about them first. You'll laugh again. You'll feel peace again. But that only happens if you let yourself feel now. Stop running. Stop numbing. Stop pretending. Let the wound speak so it can release what it's been carrying. And if it feels unbearable, if it feels like too much, remind yourself that pain is a sign you're still alive. You're still here. You're still feeling. That's not weakness. That's your humanity. And your willingness to sit in the pain instead of avoiding it. That's your strength. That's the foundation of your healing. That's the beginning of your comeback. So let the tears fall. Let your chest ache. Let your body shake. Let it all out. You're not breaking down. You're breaking open. And something powerful is waiting on the other side of that pain. Clarity. Freedom. Peace. But you can't get there without walking through the storm. So trust yourself. You're stronger than you feel. You're braver than you believe. And this pain, though it feels endless, is leading you somewhere new, somewhere softer, somewhere safer. You just have to be willing to stay with it, to sit with the ache, to feel what's real. Because only then can you truly let go. Only then can you truly heal. For rewrite the story you've been telling yourself. The story you've been telling yourself is killing your peace. That voice in your head, the one that keeps rewinding the memories, replaying the what-ifs, analyzing every word they said and every moment you shared. It's not helping you heal. It's keeping you stuck. Stuck in a loop of false hope, regret, and illusion. Because here's the truth, the story you're telling yourself isn't always the truth. It's a version built on your longing, your pain, your fear of being alone. It's the version where they cared more than they actually did. Where things could have worked if only you had done this or said that. It's the story where you take all the blame, carry all the guilt, and paint them in a light they never truly earned. But if you want to emotionally detach from someone, you have to rewrite that narrative. You have to see the story for what it really was, not for what you wanted it to be. Stop romanticizing their potential. Stop giving more weight to the good moments while erasing the countless ways they made you feel unseen, unheard, unworthy. Emotional detachment begins when you start telling the truth, the unfiltered, raw, painful truth. Not the filtered highlight reel your heart clings to at 2 a.m. You have to take them off the pedestal you put them on. They were never perfect. They weren't a savior. They weren't your forever. They were a lesson, maybe even a catalyst, but they were not your destination. And holding on to the idea that they were keeps you in a prison built out of your own imagination. They didn't reject you because you weren't enough. They walked away because they weren't capable of meeting you where your soul stood. That's not your failure. That's their limitation. Start telling yourself a new story, one where you don't carry the shame of being left. One where you don't shrink every time you remember the way they treated you. One where you realize that love isn't supposed to be this confusing. That being emotionally twisted in knots, doubting your worth, begging for attention, chasing clarity, that's not love. That's dysfunction. And when you rewrite the story, you give yourself permission to finally see the dysfunction for what it was. It wasn't passion. It wasn't soul, deep connection. It was inconsistency, chaos, mixed signals, and emotional unavailability. It was you pouring out your heart while they rationed theirs. It was you bending, stretching, and twisting into shapes just to keep them around while they stood still. When you start writing the truth, you realize it was never mutual. It was never balanced, and it was never going to give you the emotional security you deserve. But don't just rewrite their part in the story. Rewrite yours, because the most dangerous lie you tell yourself is that this is all you're ever going to get. That no one else will understand you the way they did. That no one else will make you feel alive the way they did. That's trauma talking. That's fear. That's scarcity. The truth is, you deserve more. You deserve peace. You deserve emotional safety. You deserve someone who doesn't make you question your worth every time they go silent. So start changing the narrative. Stop telling yourself that you failed. Start telling yourself that you outgrew a space that couldn't contain your heart. Stop telling yourself that it was love. Start calling it what it was. Emotional inconsistency, manipulation, or at the very least, immaturity. Because if they truly loved you, you wouldn't be here aching for clarity. You wouldn't be decoding mixed signals. You wouldn't be in this much pain. Love isn't supposed to leave you shattered. And maybe this is the hardest part. Accepting that the version of them you created in your mind doesn't match the person they were in reality. Because what you miss most might not be them, but the version you imagined. The one who was gentle, consistent, kind, present. But imagination can't sustain a relationship. Illusions fade, and when they do, you're left with the truth. And the truth hurts. But it's also what sets you free. You are not unlovable. You are not hard to be with. You are not too much. You were just asking the wrong person to give you something they never intended to offer. And it's not your job to keep chasing the love you deserve. It's your job to heal, to rise, to reclaim your narrative and write a story that no longer casts you as the one left behind, but as the one who finally decided to stop settling. So start writing that new story. The one where you walk away not because you stopped loving them, but because you started loving yourself more. The one where your value isn't tied to someone else's ability to see it. The one where you stop needing closure because you understand that peace doesn't come from their explanation. It comes from your decision to stop waiting for one. The one where your healing isn't a reaction to their absence, but a celebration of your own strength. Rewrite the story. Take back the pen. Stop letting the past dictate the lens through which you see yourself. You're not broken. You're not abandoned. You're not difficult to love. You're becoming. You're evolving. You're learning to love yourself in the places you once waited for someone else to choose you. And that story, that's the one that's going to save you. This isn't about pretending you're okay. It's about shifting the narrative from, I wasn't enough, to they weren't ready, from, I should have fought harder, to I should have let go sooner, from what could I have done differently, to why did I tolerate so little for so long? That's how you take your power back. That's how you detach, not just emotionally, but mentally. You reclaim your inner world. Let the old story go, the one drenched in shame, soaked in regret, stained with confusion. It doesn't serve you anymore. Write something new. Something where you are the hero, the healer, the one who made it through the heartbreak and turned it into rebirth. You owe it to yourself to stop living in a narrative that keeps you small. The past is done. The chapter is closed. And your new story, It begins right now. 5. Rebuild your identity without them. There comes a moment in healing when you have to ask yourself one of the hardest questions you'll ever face. Who am I without them? Not the version of you who bent, broke, or changed to keep their love. Not the version that revolved around their attention, their needs, their moods. But the real you. The one that existed before they came. The one who maybe got buried beneath all the compromises, all the sacrifices, all the silent hopes that they'd finally see your worth. Because emotional detachment is not just about letting someone go. It's about rediscovering who you are when you're no longer tethered to their approval, their presence, their validation. For so long, they were a part of your identity. Whether it was a long relationship, a deep connection, or even just an intense infatuation, their name lived inside your mind like a whisper that never stopped echoing. Their opinions shaped your choices. Their energy dictated your mood. Their silence pulled you into self-doubt, and without even realizing it, you slowly began to define your value through their eyes. But that's not your truth. That was never your truth. Now is the time to take all that energy you poured into them and redirect it into yourself. Not as an act of revenge, not to show them what they lost, but to reclaim your soul from a space it no longer belongs. Because you can't heal if your identity is still tied to a past that wounded you. You can't grow if your roots are still planted in someone who never watered you. You have to rebuild. From the inside out. From the raw, honest truth of who you are without them shaping it. Start asking yourself the questions you avoided when you were with them. What do you love? What makes you feel alive? What parts of yourself did you shrink to make space for them? What dreams did you put on hold because you were waiting for them to show up fully? What boundaries did you abandon in the name of love? These are not easy questions. They're confronting. They hurt, but they're necessary. Because you're not just grieving them, you're grieving the parts of yourself you gave away. So it's time to come home to yourself, to start again. Maybe you don't even recognize the person in the mirror anymore. That's okay. You're not supposed to go back to who you were before them. You're supposed to become someone new, someone wiser, someone softer and stronger all at once, someone who doesn't lose themselves to keep someone else, someone who doesn't beg to be chosen because they've already chosen themselves. Rebuilding your identity means creating a life that feels full even without them in it. It means investing in your passions again, reconnecting with friends who missed the old you, taking yourself out on dates, trying new things, sitting in your own presence and learning to enjoy it. It means giving yourself the love you kept trying to get from them. Not because you don't deserve love from others, but because you finally understand that love starts within. You'll stumble. You'll miss them. You'll hear a song or see a place or smell their cologne, and it'll pull you back for a second. That's normal. You're healing. But the difference now is that you no longer let those moments define you. You feel them, honor them, and keep moving forward. Because forward is the only direction that freedom lives in. Rebuilding your identity also means shifting the way you speak to yourself. No more calling yourself stupid for staying. No more berating yourself for loving them. You did what humans do. You hoped. You gave your heart. And that's not weakness. That's courage. But now that same courage has to be turned inward. It has to become the engine that drives your new story. You are not just someone who got hurt. You are someone who is learning. Someone who is choosing growth over comfort. Peace over chaos. Healing over attachment. That's powerful. That's brave. So don't minimize it just because the world tells you to move on faster. This is your life, your heart, your journey. Take your time, but take it with intention. Create routines that center you. Journal your truth. Surround yourself with people who see your light even when you can't. And most importantly, start treating yourself the way you wish they treated you. Speak to yourself with compassion. Show up for yourself consistently. Trust yourself deeply, because when you do, something shifts. The ache gets quieter. The longing turns into clarity. And one day you wake up and realize that you don't need them to be whole. You already are. Rebuilding doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means learning from it. It means pulling the wisdom from the wreckage and letting it shape you, not break you. It means becoming someone who no longer settles, someone who honors their boundaries, someone who knows the red flags and doesn't talk themselves out of seeing them, someone who walks away not out of anger but out of deep, unshakable self-worth. You are not a half waiting to be completed. You are not a shell waiting to be filled. You are a force, a light, a whole damn universe of emotion and wisdom and love. And the more you remember that, the easier it becomes to detach, not because the love wasn't real, but because your peace is more important than your past. So today, decide to rebuild, piece by piece, breath by breath, step by step, not for them, for you, because you deserve a life where you are free to be fully, unapologetically yourself. And no relationship, past, present, or future, should ever cost you that. This is your rebirth. The moment you stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. The moment you stop living in the shadow of a love that couldn't hold you and start becoming the person you were always meant to be. That version of you is not just waiting, she's rising, and she's unstoppable. There comes a point when holding on starts to hurt more than letting go. And that moment, as terrifying as it feels, is the beginning of your freedom. Because healing isn't about waking up one day and feeling nothing. It's about waking up one day and realizing that you finally have enough strength to walk away from what kept breaking you. You finally see that love isn't supposed to feel like a battlefield. It's not supposed to confuse you, make you feel small, or leave you questioning your worth every single day. Real love lifts. It builds. It brings peace. The journey to emotionally detach from someone who once meant everything to you is not linear. Some days you'll miss them so much it feels like your chest is caving in. Other days you'll feel powerful, like you're finally coming back to life. But both days matter. Both are part of the process. Because you're not just healing from the loss of them. You're healing from the loss of who you became while trying to keep them. And that kind of healing, that kind of rebirth, it changes you forever. You learn to stop chasing closure and start creating peace. You learn to stop trying to be enough for people who are comfortable never showing up for you. You learn to recognize that the pain of losing them is not greater than the pain of losing yourself in the process. You learn that you can miss someone and still choose yourself. You learn that detachment isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. And one day, without even realizing it, the memories won't sting the same way. Their silence won't echo as loudly. Their absence won't feel like a missing limb. Because you'll have filled your own heart with things they could never give you. You'll have rebuilt your identity from the ground up. You'll have stood in the fire and come out not burned, but refined. You are not weak for feeling deeply. You are not broken for needing time. You are not foolish for loving fully. But now, it's time to come home to yourself, to choose peace over longing, to choose reality over illusion, to choose yourself finally and fully. Because the moment you do, that's when you realize you were never really losing them. You were only ever finding you.